Hi everyone, Mr. Vargas here, and in today's video for decimals and percentages, we are going to be covering the main activity like we normally do, and we're also going to be doing the additional worksheets that are not required, but they are a good idea to do because they're going to help you guys get more comfortable with decimals and percentages and that kind of thing. Without any further ado, let's get into the main activity. There are two game boards that I'm going to be sending via email today for you guys to play this week, and let's zoom in on the first one. This right here is the main activity number one, and I'm going to zoom in on it right over here. So here's the big picture of it, and here it is zoomed in a little bit so we could take a look at the instructions. It is titled 4 in a row, converting decimals to fractions, and this is a decimals class, so we are going to be working with decimals, and we do need to be able to go from decimals to fractions, and we're going to learn how to do that in today's video. Materials, 2 6-sided die, 50 small counters, 25 per player. Object of the game, or the objective of the game, is to be the first player to cover a line of 4 boxes, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. So you're trying to get 4 in a row. You could have 4 in a row going horizontally, 4 in a row going vertically, or 4 in a row going diagonally. It's completely up to you and how it works out. Directions. On your turn, you're going to roll both die and you're going to add them together. You're going to find the sum of the die in the chart, and you're going to look at the given decimal. So let's say, for example, that you roll a 2 and a 4. The sum would be a 6. You would look at this right here, and you would work with that number. Let's keep going. You're going to convert the decimal to a fraction. You're going to look for the answer in the game board below. So down here, down below. You're going to cover one available box with that answer provided. If it has already been covered, or if it has already, here, let me read that. That isn't written correctly. Cover one available box that answer provided, with that answer provided, that the box directly below, it has already been covered. Any box that in the bottom row may be covered at any time. If there are no available answers, your turn is over. Scratch that. Once you find a particular value, like 0.8, for example, you're going to find the equivalent fraction and you're going to put a counter on that there. That's a little bit easier to explain. Number 5, if you rolled and you get a wild is if you roll a 6 and a 6 and you add it up to get to 12. If you get wild, you get to pick a counter, or you get to take one of your counters and put it on any spot that you want. Anyone on anyone, and that can be really helpful if you're trying to get 4 in a row and you have 3 and you're one more away. You're going to take turns until one player gets 4 in a row. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Now, we are converting from decimals to fractions, and right now we're working in terms of tenths. So what we're going to do here is all of these are going to have a denominator of 10. That's what it means to have a fraction that is in tenths. The denominator is 10. Okay, let's take a look and do some of these, shall we? Okie dokie. The best thing to do in the very beginning is to know what these are supposed to be converted into, and here's the trick. If you have point anything, 0.6, that's going to be 6 over 10. 0.6, I'm going to try to fit it. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is 0.6. That's going to be 6 out of 10. Yeah, it was able to fit. 0.5, I'll do this one less. 0.5, it's going to be 5 out of 10. 0.1 is going to be 1 out of 10. The pattern is whatever the number is to the right of the decimal, a 6, a 5, a 1, that is going to be in the numerator. Okay, so 0.6, 6 out of 10. 0.5, 5 out of 10. 0.1, 1 out of 10. 0.8, 8 out of 10. 0.3, 3 out of 10. Here we have 0.9, 0.9, that's a 9. 0.9, 9 out of 10. 0.2, 2 out of 10. 0.7, 7 out of 10. 0.4 is going to be 4 out of 10. All right, it's a little cramped in there. And whenever you have 1, that's going to be 10 out of 10. All right, so just to reiterate before we begin, we converted all of these decimals into fractions. Let's do a couple of rounds, shall we? Let's have player 1. Let's have player 1 be red, and let's have player 2 be blue. We're going to have player 2 be Player 2, be blue. And these are very fun games to play with family, with mom, with dad, with your brother, or with your sister. All right, let's pretend that player 1 goes, and player 1 rolls 2 die, and they end up getting a 5 and a 1. Player 1 gets a 5 and a 1. You're supposed to add whatever you get. 5 plus 1 would be 6. Player 1 is going to go to 6 right here, and they're going to have the decimal 0.8, which changes to 8 over 10. Player 1 is going to look for 8 over 10. 8 over 10, 8 over 10. Here is an 8 over 10 right here. There might be multiple 8 over 10s. There are. Player 1 gets to decide where they want to put it. All right, that's it for player 1. Now player 2 is going to go. Let's say that player 2 rolls a 2 and a 2. Player 2 rolls a 2 and a 2. They're going to add those. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Player 2 is going to go to 4. Now, player 2 has the decimal, 0.5. And let's remember that 0.5 is rewritten as 5 over 10. Player 2 is going to look for 5 over 10. There's a couple of 5 over 10. There's one right here. Let's see if there's another one. There's another one over here. I'm going to pick this one. There's a lot of strategy with these games. If you are able to put your counter somewhere in the middle, there's a greater chance of you being able to get 4 in a row, because you could have counters from up above, counters from down below, connect with the point that you have in the middle. If you're in the edge, that's fine, but you can't put any counters down here. So the more that you put counters somewhere in the middle, the greater your chances, because you're going to have more areas that can connect to you. All right, that does it for player 2. Now we're going to go back to player 1. Player 1 is going to roll again. Let's say that player 1 rolls a 6 and a 5. Player 1 rolls a 6 and a 5. 6 plus 5 is going to be 11. Player 1 is going to look for 11, which is right there. And 11 has the decimal 0.4, which is going to be 4 over 10. Player 1 is going to look for 4 over 10. Let's see where there's a 4 over 10. There's a 4 over 10 here. There's also 4 over 10 right here. I'm going to take this one because I'm trying to get 4 in a row if I'm player 1, and I have 2 already, which is good. All right, let's do a couple more. We'll do, on top of this one, we'll do one more round afterwards, and everyone should have a good idea on how this works if we do 3 rounds apiece. All right, let's say that player 2 gets a 1 and a 3. They get a 1 and a 3. They add that up, they end up getting a 4. They go to where 4 is, and they have 0.5, which they're going to turn to 5 over 10. They're going to look for 5 over 10. There's a 5 over 10 right here. Let's see if there's another 5 over 10 right here. I'll take that one. Okay, and that does it for player 2's turn. Let's do one last one. Let's do one more round. Let's say that player 1 gets a 5 and a 5. Player 1 gets a 5. No, let's do 5 and a 4. Player 1 gets a 5 and a 4, which adds up to 9. They're going to go here at 9, and they have 0.2, which they're going to turn into 2 over 10. 2 over 10. Player 1 is going to look for 2 over 10, which is right there. Let's see if there's another one. There's another one right there. Maybe I want to put mine right there as player 1 because I'm trying to block player 2. I don't want player 2 to get 4 in a row going down, so I block him or her, depending on who's playing. All right, let's do one last one for player 2. For player 2, let's say that player 2 rolls a 6 and a 6. They end up getting a 12. 12 is wild. If you land with wild, you get to pick whatever place on the board you want. And let's say that player 2, they're trying to get 4 in a row. Maybe they go over here. And now they could try getting 4 in a row horizontally, maybe diagonally this way. The possibilities are endless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for game 1. Let's quickly jump into game 2, which is a similar setup. Tic-tac-toe. And here we're going to be working with hundredths. And I'll just go over the main idea here because there are extra worksheets that I would like to show students. Decimal value, tic-tac-toe. All right. And this one is part 2. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging. If you want to just stick to activity number 1, you could stick to activity number 1 only. If you want to do the more challenging one on top of the first one, you can do that too. Let's take a look at the instructions for tic-tac-toe And let's take a look at this little guy here, which has he has a balloon planet, which is pretty cool. All right, tic-tac-toe, decimal mode, hundreds. The materials, 2 6-sided die, 40 small counters, 20 per player. The object of the game, to be the first player to cover a line, vertical, horizontal, or diagonal of 3 boxes on any of the 3 game boards. All right, here we go. Directions. On your turn, you're going to roll both die and you're going to add them together. You're going to find the sum of the die on the chart and you're going to look at the decimal that is given. All right, so same thing as before. Let's say that you roll a 5 and a 1. You're going to get a 6 if you add them up. You would take a look at 6 and then you would take this decimal and you would turn that decimal into a excuse me, into a fraction potentially. Let's take a look and see how this works. Yes, you're going to find the sum in the chart and you're going to look at the decimal given. Locate a model on that decimal on the game board. So let's say that we have 0.60. We're going to find any one of these that represents 0.60. And let's just keep going with the instructions and we'll do a couple more. You're going to cover that model with one of your counters on any of the 3 game boards. If there are no available boxes, your turn is over. You're going to take turns until one player covers a line of 3 boxes on any game board with his or her counters, and you're trying to get 3 in a row. All right, these are going to be a little bit tiny, but I'm going to try my very best to walk everyone through these. All of these, this square, and let me hover with my pen here, this square is out of 100 pieces, and this is out of 100 pieces. These are all out of 100 pieces. What we're going to do here is we want to be able to recognize that this, if 90, so you want to try to count as many of these purple spots as you can. There's 97 here that are shaded. This is going to be 0.97. If we take a look at this one here, every row is 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. This is 0.60 or 0.6. This right here is the one that you would pick if you land here. If you have a sum of 6, 0.60, you would end up picking this one right here. If you get a sum of 2, 0.70, you're going to find the one that represents 0.70 or 70 that are shaded. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. This is going to be 0.70 here. If I take a look at another one here, just to give you guys an idea on how these work. If we look at this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be 0.06. If you end up getting a sum of 9, 0.06 would go right here. All right, that does it for that activity. It's a little bit more challenging, but I think that you guys can do it. With the minute or 2 that we have left over, let's take a look at the additional worksheets that are not a requirement, but they are going to make things, how should I say, they are going to help you guys understand these topics a little bit more. Let's jump right into these. And the answer key is going to be included to anyone who is interested. All right, let's do a handful. With this first page, whenever you have a percent and you're trying to turn it to a fraction, whatever the number is, that's going to go on top. If you have 32%, the number 32 is going to go right here. And they give us 3 examples. If you have 25%, the number 25 goes on top. If you're missing the top, if you don't know what the top is, it's just going to be that without the percent. If you're missing the bottom, it's always going to be 100. And if you're missing the percent, it's going to be the top number with percent. So if we're missing the bottom on any of these, it's always going to be 100. It's always going to be 100. It's always going to be 100. If you're ever missing the top, if you ever don't know what that is, it's always going to be that number without the percent. So if you don't know what this is, it's going to be this number without the percent, 215. And last but not least, if you're missing the percent, if you don't know what that is, it's going to be the top number with the percent symbol. The top number with a percent symbol. And that does it for these videos. Like I normally say, whenever you are taking a look at the additional worksheets that are only optional, but I do suggest that everyone do them, an answer key is going to be included. Here's the worksheet that we did, and here's the answer key. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for today's activity. Hope everyone has a great day. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your week. And I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.